Hi there, my name is Angelina Coughlin. I teach in applied art design. I'm also the secretary of SCFA. We wanted to collect different experiences of faculty members and staff as we begin to transition back on ground. The interview you're about to watch is one of those experiences. It is important to note everyone will have a different experience transitioning on ground. The objective of this video series is to capture different experiences and share them. The hope is through these shared experiences, we can learn from each other and support one another. Let's jump in.
My name is Keely Carroll, and I am the lead negotiator right now for SCFA, and I teach non-majors biology.
Nice. Well, thank you for having this discussion on returning to campus. So, one of the questions that I have for you is when you were checking students in using the pass, how long did that take on average, do you think?
It didn't take very long at all, maybe a few minutes. You should know that they cannot scan the QR code if they don't have a green pass. So if they're able to scan that door, then you know they have the pass. If you have students who roll in late, just have them show the pass when they come in. So after the first week, they know they just walk in, you can see it.
Okay. And how common was it for you for someone not to have a phone that was capable of showing a pass?
It only happened once, and that was because the student's phone was dead. And so we have the paper form in the classrooms. And what I did is I said to the student, I said, look, before you fill this out, just look at it really quick. Are you going to answer yes to any of these? And they said no. And I said, okay, fine. We'll fill it out and we'll send it in. But if he was just click yes on any of those boxes to be symptomatic, my response was going to be like, how about you fill out this form outside? And then you can email the email that's on there, the report COVID email. You email them and let them know, but I don't need to stand here next to you while you fill that out. So it was just the one time because the student phone, like I said, they forgot to plug the phone in.
So you teach in a lab environment, is that correct?
Yes.
So how do you manage group activities or exercises on ground? Are there any rules we should be aware of?
Technically, no. The social distancing rules were taken away by the CDC back in June. So technically, those don't exist anymore. But I wanted to be respectful for how students felt. I still try to make it so that they could be spread out from each other. I had one activity where we do a track exercise, and the students would reach inside a bag and out fish, the pretend plastic fish. I pulled the fish out and I put it in a cup for them, and then I'd sanitize my hands and I'd go to the next student, just as a show of like, I respect you. I respect that you might have concerns. I'm going to sanitize my hands.
I don't know if you came across this situation this semester, but what do you do if you have a student who is visibly ill in your class, coughing, sneezing, those sorts of things?
Right. It didn't happen to me, but I sure have asked about it because I was worried about it. Technically, if you see a student who's sick, do not go up to them and say, do you have COVID? You cannot go up to them and say, are you vaccinated, because it's a HIPAA violation. What you can do, ask the student to step out into the hallway with, and then email the report COVID folks. Hey, I have student named such and such in my such and such class, and they are visibly ill. And you report COVID people. They will either call that student and say, hey, we need to talk to you. Maybe you need a test, or they're going to email you back, hey, we're good. We've already spoken to that student. And they're not going to say if the student's positive or not, but generally, if they say the student's fine, they probably don't have COVID. Be kind of subtle about it. Don't make a production. Just say, hey, can I talk to you outside for a few minutes? And then go out and talk to them there.
Have you had to call your dean because someone like refused to wear a face mask properly?
To be fair, I do teach in the sciences. So I think in the sciences, and I do have non-majors, so it's not, these aren't biology majors, but I do still teach in the sciences. So when I mom them, it comes from that science sort of background. I have to admit, I probably have a little bit more oomph when I'm reinforcing that than other people have had. I've only heard of a few reports of students having issues with masks. Mainly they happen in the library, to be honest with you, where students just keep taking their masks off. Biggest thing I had to do last semester was occasionally go, as it would slide off their nose.
Ah,
And so I just pointed the nose and all that it took. But I didn't have any problems with students who refused to mask. They all came in with their masks.
well, that's good to hear. Was there anything that made you feel safe while teaching on ground?
Having a mask on, having a mask, that main thing. And then also, and I think the students are kind of onto this, you know how after class, students always want to come up to you after class and they have all kinds of questions. My students did less of that. And when they had questions, they always stood fairly far away and asked their questions. So there's a certain amount of respect I think the students already had for being in close proximity. And for me personally, I'm going to be getting an N95 or a KN95 from the division office to have and to provide in my classroom. There's already masks in the classroom, but I want the KN95 or the N95 because they are so much better. And also too, because I'm a loud talker teacher, I found when I'm wearing the surgical, I want to take a deep breath to talk some more, I'm inhaling my mask.
Yeah, I also just bought a big box of KN95 masks just because, just in case, there aren't any
Oh, yeah.
around. Was there anything that made you feel unsafe being on ground?
Yeah, I mean, if I saw people eating because they take their masks off when they eat, I don't like that. And that's something I choose to avoid. My office mate was on ground last semester as well, but we were on different days. But if we ever had a time that we were both in the office, we were really good. We both masked. We didn't eat around each other. So I think that it's the eating part where I see people eat, that makes me uncomfortable, but I can choose to remove myself from it. Of course, the students aren't supposed to eat in any of our classrooms. I think for me, the biggest hurdle was the first few days. Once you get through the first few days and it sort of in a way becomes more routine, you get more comfortable with it. Because in the beginning, there's so many unknowns. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how the students are react. You don't know how the app's going to go. And all that stress is so much, but it passes. And then you kind of just get into the routine of things after a while. And I will say, actually, another is we had a few outdoor activities that I did with my students. And I said, out of respect for your fellow students, I would like you to ask you to still wear your mask when you step outside. And they did. I never had a single student anytime when we were in class ever take off masks. And at the time, most students just walking around campus were wearing their masks. I think they just forgot to have them on.
So, is there anything else that you can think of that faculty, staff um, should be aware of as they start to transition back on campus?
I think is to give yourself permission to be comfortable, to okay with being worried, and because those are all such normal feelings to have. And also to recognize for a lot of folks who haven't taught in person in like 2 years, it's okay to be nervous. Like, do I still know how to do this job more? Right? Because there's an extra fear factor. And what are the students going to be like? They've gone through all these strange experiences too. And to let yourself be okay with that, because it feels so super daunting and it feels so super scary. And that's okay to have those feelings and just kind of go with it. Obviously, you're feeling super anxious, see somebody, talk to somebody, and don't ever hesitate to reach out really to anybody at SCFA because they'll answer your questions too. And it is always okay if you're really concerned about something to email Willie or the board of trustees. I always tell people, like, if they come to me, I'm super concerned, I'm like, then y'all need to, don't just email me, email Willie. Let him know what you think.
That just, I think, helps give us, some kind of insight into your experience transitioning back on ground. And it's going to be different for everyone. And, like you said, we don't know what we don't know. And
Right.
that we just need to kind of be patient with ourselves and others as we make this transition.
Important too to recognize it for some of our students. It's going to be a difficult transition for them too. that you may wind up with a group that's they might have a hard time remembering what it's like to be a student in a classroom. And so that's another thing to keep in mind too. Well, thank you, Angie. I appreciate you
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah. No problem.
All right. Well, you have a good rest of your afternoon.
Okay. You too.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.